So this is impressive. I stood up here about a year ago at a general session of the Tech Lab and went through in 5 minutes what we thought was going to happen with this group, and not in my wildest imagination, I believe it would grow this big. We have 155 member companies. Shaylee told me we're actually over 300 as of this morning in membership, so that's a major milestone. And currently we have 3 focus areas that we're focusing in. But one thing, quick comment before we move forward, as we're going to fill up here probably pretty quickly. If your organization would like, if it has a nice, larger space than this, and would be interested in hosting a future event, please come to Richard, myself, or Shaylee. We'd love to talk to you because things are going to get a bit snug today. Hopefully AC keeps going fine. We basically, when we're working as a group here, as a working group, we have 3 verticals that kind of feed into each other. The first, which has been critical for this first year, has been education. When we started framing like what the working group was doing, we had very basic questions coming to us from inside the IAB, like what is a blockchain? What is a distributed ledger? How do they relate? It's not a Bitcoin. Is it a Bitcoin? And so we've actually in the last year, we've had a technology primer. We've launched a resource wiki. We've actually started by just talking amongst ourselves. We've actually standardized actually vocabulary of how we talk about these concepts and how they impact each other and impact other parts of the ad tech ecosystem. And so that alone, just that education bit, which is ongoing and is going to continue to roll out, is a critical part of this working group. And several people could quietly contribute to that. And you guys know who you are, but I'd really like to thank you for your continued efforts on that because it's really having an impact. After education, because once you get standardized terminology, you can start developing into technology. We're starting to have very interesting conversations around, as says up here, standards, smart contracts, identities turning out to be a very interesting area as well. It also impacts on things like analytics, where you have new dimensions of data relative to the actual distributed ledger of how that's stored and when it's stored. So this is also coming along. We actually have some subgroups headed up by members of our subcommittees that are actually starting to work on this as independent work streams, so we don't bottleneck at certain levels of the organization. And finally, very excitingly, we actually, once we have technologies developed by some of the vendors who will be presenting throughout the day, we're also working among our various members to get a network pilot where we basically will get somebody on the buy side, someone on the sell side, players in the middle, and we try to actually see how this stuff works in real life. And if it works, great. If it doesn't work, also great. We take our learnings, we iterate, and we try again. This means what we're actually developing actually has to, the rubber actually has to hit the road. Critical for actually getting a set of standards eventually that's actually going to be useful and not be a burden. And so this is kind of the path we're taking as a working group. And so when you hear us talking today, we're working on all 3 of these at once, but they're feeding into each other. And so the water's kind of flowing downhill towards usable standards that produces usable technology that has a positive impact on the environment. And so everybody's participating in this group is in their way helping contribute to that, and I thank you. This is where we are actually seeing the most innovation. Is kind of like this middle layer, which is how we are kind of running down that course. And we're seeing like on one side we have buy side, one side we have sell side. The IAB is a great place and kind of a unique format where we have representatives of both sides in the House. They're on the calls. They speak to each other. You will get very brutal questions like from the sell side of like, why would I want to take that on? And then somebody else will ask from the buy side, well, what advantages does it get me? How do I justify this to a brand? And this is really useful. And so you have a lot of companies mainly working in the middle here, down that whole discovery, negotiate, buy, consensus, measure, verify, and settle. We have panels. We have different companies that will be presenting today. They're doing different parts of this, but the good thing is we're offering a forum here for them to actually be able to reach out to players in the ecosystem and have those conversations. Some of them are hard, but we try to enforce Royal Society rules there, where people you criticize the idea, the concept, but not the individual. And for the last year, it's worked quite well. We've cut through a lot of the chaff. We're getting to some, and I think you'll see there today, we actually, at our demos, we're getting somewhere with this. So it's been very happy. Finally, network pilots being officially launched today. They've been in the work for a while. Lucidity, Miguel, right there. Kachiva, anybody from Kachiva? Bro, anybody else? Kachiva's launching one. Meta X, you guys are speaking today. Anybody here yet? Nope. And finally, Fusion 7. Bueller. Okay. Still early one. But we're actually excited. They've actually undertaken to set up their technology, work with partners, see what they're doing. They're going to share it with the community. And hopefully when we're having our next meeting, we'll have some of these will be wrapped up and we'll be able to have a session on the results of that.